Good. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Awesome. Well, today, guys, we got a special treat. I know we're an hour earlier than our normal office meeting, so I thank everyone for having to wake up like a respectable adult and be here on a respectable time. Everyone's like, I was told we could sleep till 10. I'm a real Turk. What is this 9 o'clock stuff? Anyways, so we got a special guest, guys, today. We're really excited. I see Tristan on there on Zoom. We're going to bring him up to the front of the room so people in the class can see him as well. So guys, I don't know if you know who Tristan is, but Tristan has been in real estate since 2004 and focuses primarily on building relationships with his clients and focuses on luxury real estate. Tristan still practices real estate in Los Angeles County, Ventura County. He works in Malibu, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Calabasas, and Westlake Village. He teaches and speaks throughout the year at different events to small groups and large groups up to 20,000 people. Tristan teaches how to have higher lead conversion through long-term follow-up and building deep relationships with clients. He has been married almost 2 decades and has two children, lives in Southern California and loves to spend time with his family. He's the creator and co-founder of the largest closed Facebook group, who many of us are a part of, with Lab Coat Agents. So we're really excited. He's also one of the founders for Monarch Title, which was previously Hollywood Title. Is had a relationship, how we were able to smooth him to come join us and give us some of his time. So we really appreciate you, Tristan. I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to bring you around to the front of our room so the people in the office can see as well. But thank you so much for giving us your time, and take it away.
I'm happy to be here. And thanks so much. And everyone, I hope you're having a good, is it Thursday? I always get like, geez, like, is there a weekend? It's just like, feels like every day it's the same. It's just new. I hope you're having an awesome day today. I want to talk to you about a few things, but I want to start with 8 questions that I was thinking about yesterday. And I put them in notes fashion. So I'm going to share them with you. Let me grab it so that you can follow along with me just in case you want to. Let me grab the link. I'm going to dump it into the chat and then we'll get started. Let me dump this in here. It's a Google Doc. Let me know if you can see that. Give me a thumbs up. At least you can. Let me know if you can open it. Here we go. 8 thoughts that will help you grow your business. And number one is, if you know their intention, you can get their attention. And that, for me, that's where it all started with these questions yesterday. Because I was thinking deeper about just social media. That's one of the 3 sources that we are getting most of our business from right now. It's referrals from past clients in Sphere, Google PPC, Google AdWords, right? And number 3 is social media. And I'm thinking, like, on the social side, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, doesn't matter where it is. If I know what the audience that I have, their intention, I can get their attention because I'm talking to them. If I know that I'm targeting a specific area with mailers, with ads, with door knocking, with whatever it is, you can go deeper with people if you're answering their questions because we know their intent. And so this is where it started for me with that one question. And then I went, well, number 2. I want to read this one to you. We don't have an attention problem, because I hear that all the time. It's like, oh, we have a 5-second or less attention span now. We're like that of a goldfish. I'm like, no, wait a second. That's not true. We don't have an attention problem. We have a storytelling challenge. What's the story you're telling that allows people to connect with you? Because here's the challenge. We hear this goldfish attention span, but yet a lot of us are watching movies that are an hour long. We're still watching YouTube videos that are 7 minutes long. We're still being engaged. We just decide what captures our attention. So if you're having a problem capturing the attention, it's like you're not telling a story. You're not understanding what the intention is of your audience. Or you're just talking too much, not listening enough, which is one of my other ones. Number 3, when you say yes to something, be committed. Saying yes closes other doors, so be careful what you say yes to. And I don't know that we often see it that way, but you always hear the opposite, which is like say no more often, right? And I think it just depends on the stage you are in your life, in your business. But when you say yes, just be committed to it. Do yourself that favor, because a lot of other opportunities will pop up from that. You just have to be super focused. If you're going to take that lease listing because you said yes to it, even though the commission is very small, what does commitment to that look like? And I'll tell you a story really quick in between this. So we took a lease listing in Malibu, and we decided, like we do with everything, to treat it like a full-on listing. And we did the postcards, just listed. We did the whole pictures, beautifully done. And we decided to mail all around, just listed. It was a lease listing. Well, one of the neighbors got the card and called us back and said, hey, we're not sure whether we want to lease our home or whether we want to sell it. Can you please stop by? We're in town from New England. And I said, sure. Stop by. The very first thing they said when they looked at the postcard, they looked at me, they're like, oh, you look just like your picture. Like they were surprised. So number one, make sure you change your picture. But number two, they had the postcard. And they called me from it because I treated that lease listing like a full-on listing. I was committed. I'm like, if you're going to get me and my team, we're going to go all out every single time. And the home, $12.5 million on the beach. Neighbors was a retired Lions football running back. On the other side, a famous actor. And now we're talking between either leasing it for $100,000 a month, or whether we're going to sell it. So there's a lot to what you do, but when you say yes, do yourself a favor. Stay fully committed to that. Now, number 4, more value equals more trust. The more you care about giving back to the communities that you belong to, the more value you will be perceived as having. You create trust this way. So the more you show up, that's why it's like the next one, because of the commitment. The more you show up and how you show up matters. It matters because of the influence you create. It doesn't matter how small the community is. It doesn't matter how many times you're going to show up in the span of a year. When you show up with value. But it has to be consistent too. And I'll give you an example on the social media side. There's a YouTuber, and I'm trying to remember his name right now, but he worked at JPL, and he was a physicist and rocket scientist. I'm trying to remember. Mark Rober, that's his name. And he posts about one time a month on YouTube. That's all. But he's fully committed to making these amazing videos, and he's got millions and millions of followers just from that. He's consistently showing up one time only a month with value, versus other people like Gary Vee who show up every second, every minute. So there's an option. Don't just think that you have to show up once a month, or don't think that you have to show up every second either. Just make sure that when you do show up, you show up with value, because it matters. People are paying attention. Number 5, it's okay not to work with people you don't get along with. Just let them go. I'll give you an example of this one too. A few years back, I'm sitting in my office and I'm going over the home inspection. Bless you, whoever sneezed.
Thank you.
I'm going over the home inspection and the request for repairs with a seller of mine. And we're sitting across from each other. I have a newer agent sitting next to me who I'm kind of mentoring on my team. And I'm talking to the seller. We're going over everything, and this is the first time this ever happened to me, so I'm telling you the story on why letting go is important. And we're going through it. I think everything's fine. And this guy's an engineer. His name is Joe. And the house is about $3 million. And so going through page by page, he doesn't look happy. And then maybe halfway through, when we're sitting together for about an hour and a half, maybe about halfway through, he looks up at me and he says, Tristan, I don't like you. I was like, Joe, I don't like you either, but we've got to make this happen. That was my first response. Whether or not it was right, who knows? But after that transaction, he was one of those clients we just never connected with after. I didn't want his business. And it's okay. You're not going to get everyone. You're not going to connect with everybody, especially if they don't get along with you. And there are people that sometimes we just don't get along with. And I want you to understand that that's okay. In all aspects of life, all right? Not just business, but in your personal life. And I think that one becomes a little more challenging. But these little things, this is what I learned along the way. These little things that bring you down because of this person's character or this person's victim mentality, or you guys just don't vibe and this person brings you down all the time. That brings you down. Whether it's a slight comment they make, or it's the way they act with you, or the way they make you feel, because you're prone to feeling a certain way when around certain people. What happens is now you're not going to show up like yourself when you're meeting that client that you do like. When you're meeting your family, when you're with your kids, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, you're not who you need to be. And that's a challenge. So start letting go of those people that you shouldn't be around. And we don't do that enough. And so you need permission to just let go of those. Next one. Number 6, listen more than you talk. Ask questions about what you're listening to so people know you're intently solving their challenges. And sometimes this becomes a problem because I've seen people, I've been in rooms with people that just don't stop talking. And it's like, can you just shut up for a minute, please? Because you've got the deal down. They want to sign. Just shut up, because you're going to talk yourself out of it. And the best example I have, just this last 2 weeks, I don't go on a lot of listing presentations anymore, but I did go on this one, and because it was a bigger one, and we prepared a listing packet like we normally do. And it's a beautiful packet with everything that we do, who we are, all the stats, everything that we offer on the marketing side. We get there and we sit down on the living room, and they start talking. So I'm leading this one, that's why I'm here. I'm sitting there for this one. And they start talking, and we just start talking about, what was it? About Washington. We start talking about Washington, and we start talking about the weather there. And then somehow we end up in Portland in the conversation. And I just went to Portland, and I just visited Powell's bookstore, and I love Powell's bookstore. And so we go into that. And next thing you know, we're 30 minutes in, and they're really, because I'm listening and just asking questions based on what they're talking about, and they're ready to sign. I saw the moment that they were ready to sign. They just wanted to feel comfortable with the decision to work with us. And a lot of the decisions that people make are based on emotion, which is the next one. Most people buy with emotion. You just have to understand that. And the challenge is, a lot of you are still talking through everything. I didn't open up the listing presentation at all. And that happens most of the time. I mean, I've been in business for a while, and if you have too, you'll know that most of the time, you'll never even get to the listing presentation. And if you do, people kind of just skim through it. They just want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that they can work with you because you'll get the job done and you have their best interest at heart. That's it. But a lot of the times we just talk our way out of that. And I've seen that. So remember the next one there, which is most people buy with emotion. People don't care about what you do or what you sell until they repeatedly connect with your message. They connect with you when they think it helps them with their lifestyle, their business, and or their problems. That becomes the key a lot of the times, because now we're understanding who these people are. Number 8, know your audience. It's like, oh, I got it. I know who I'm talking to. I know what their pain points are. And you know what I see? I don't see us doing this. Because when we mail, if we're mailing to townhomes versus mailing to homes on the beach, they have different problems that we need to solve. It's a different audience. Is that the message that you're delivering to that audience? Or is it just the same thing every month? Just listed, just sold, just listed, just sold. Look how amazing I am. Look at this amazing property. There's nothing wrong with doing that as long as in between you're also solving their issues. Like if I'm mailing to Malibu, which we do, versus me mailing to townhomes in Westlake Village, what's the message? Like I know what the pain points are for those people that don't owe anything on their property and are on the beach. They want more real estate and they want to travel. They're different issues. And so what's the conversation I'm having with them visually on what I'm sending them? Because we don't think in words, right? We think in pictures. We think in pictures. So this is why Netflix did a study, and I'm trying to remember the study, I don't have it with me, but it showed that the human eye can make a decision based on an image in 0.13 seconds or less. That means I already judged you based on how you look, how you're dressed, right? That means I already judged your postcard. That means I already judged your ad online. That's how fast we decide on things, because we're visual, right? So pictures matter, but words matter too. Words, like if I said cow right now, think of a cow. Some of you would think of a black and white cow. Some of you would think of a brown cow with horns. Some of you would think of a skinny cow or a pink cow. Right? I don't know. But think of it. Amy sees it. Amy sees a cow. Thank you. I appreciate you. So think about that, right? Number 8 is know your audience. Understand what they want, what they need, and what their pain points are. You're here to solve a pain point, right? We're not here to sell homes for the most part. In some cases, yeah, you're dealing with investors. They're more black and white. Most of the decisions that are made by the people we're working with are emotional. They envision themselves owning a home and doing what with it and feeling how by living there. There's a whole piece to this that we're missing, right? This is why the whole ideal, before I came into business, the whole idea of the American dream was already in place. What is that? Where did that come from? That's what it's about. What's the story that you've created that will allow people to connect with you at that level? Because if it's just about selling homes, anyone can do that. Just remember, this is a relationship business. And it's not going to end. This is why Zillow and Redfin and everybody else that wants a piece of us is not going to fully win. Because they can't do this on a one-to-one basis. They need other agents to be able to do that. They realize that quickly. I mean, how many times have they failed, right? And yet now they go in and say, oh yeah, we need the agent. Of course you need the agent. This is a relationship-based business. It's never going to change. But I need you to create a story that starts engaging with people in this way. Because what I've noticed is your beliefs, what you believe to be true, what you beve to be false about real estate, and just about life in general, But your beliefs will dictate your behaviors every time, every single time. Your beliefs about buyers are liars. Well, they dictate your behavior. I don't want to work with buyers. That's what I hear all the time. And yet the majority of our closings are buyers. Right? And you hear it all the time, and it's like, what am I listening to? I built my whole business on majority buyers. This is nuts. I always do the opposite, right? But I'm telling you, like, your beliefs will continue to dictate your behaviors in your life and in your business. It's time to look back and say, wait a second, if that's the case, which it is, what do I believe to be true about everything that I do in real estate? What do I believe to be true about mailing? What do I believe to be true about online leads? Because I keep on hearing online leads suck, right? I mean, I started the whole movement on online lead conversion back when Realtor.com hired me to go speak around the nation for them in the early 2011, 2012, right? And I started showing people how to convert online leads at a high level using tech, putting people in place to call. Right? That's why I started Lab Code Agents. It was because of that. But when you look at it this way, and you're like, wait a second, what do I believe to be true about everything in real estate? What should I actually be looking at? Let me answer it. We all have talents, we all have strengths. I want you to focus on your strengths and talents. I want you to go deeper on that when it comes to real estate. Because we get distracted, and I'll tell you, I do the same thing. I'm an agent, right? I get distracted when I see that over there, and I'm like, damn, that agent is doing that with that. That's cool. I'm gonna try that. And then I throw money at it, and I'm like, oh shit, that didn't work, right? And I didn't give enough time. I said yes to it, but guess what? I wasn't fully committed, right? And guess what? It was also not my strength, but I thought it was cool at the time. So I want you to take a look at your tech stack right now, whatever it is that you have. I want you to take a look at where you get your business from. And I want you to start thinking, wait a second, maybe I can use my tech stack, whatever that is, even if it's just one thing, and start morphing it into making what I'm already great at better. That really is the gap. Like, you want to make it through these next few months of the shift, you're going to need to take a look at your beliefs about what you thought was right and what you thought was wrong. Because I talked to a lot of people, and I'll give you the best example. I just did this 4 days ago. I'm coaching this great agent out of Scottsdale. And he's like, Tristan, and it's a new coaching client. He's like, Tristan, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I've got online leads coming through, and I see them all in the back end. I just can't get them to convert, right? And I'm like, okay, great. So here's the difference. I actually pop up the CRM in the back end, and I'm like, let's do this together. So I pop it open. I take a look at everything. I go through every single one. We're at number 7 lead that came through. And then I say, hey, look, this one, you only have an email address, but looks like you have a full name, no phone number. Let's just Google him together. Google him based on that email address that we found. He ends up being an executive of a massive oil company in Texas. I'm like, well, this is interesting. We dig deeper, we find him, we find all the details. I go, you know what, man, you know what I've noticed over the years of working with higher level people is that they seem to respond great to email. Why don't we just shoot them an email right now, together? Shoot them an email. This was within the hour call. And shoots them an email, and then we go to the next one. Maybe about 15 minutes in, the guy emails them back and says, hey, yeah, we're gonna be in Scottsdale, and this time this is what we're looking for, and this is who we are. I said, you know what, ask him if he could jump on the phone with him. So he does, gets his cell phone, gets him on the phone, talks to him, and now is showing him in Scottsdale homes between $3 to $5 million. This is the stuff that we're missing because we're so used to doing things a certain way. You need to take a look at what you have right now and what you're great at, and let go of everything that you're not that great at, and double and triple down on the things you are. Meaning, because I hate vague phrases like, you need to 10x this. And I'm like, what does that mean? Meaning, you need to find the time that you're calling, and you need to double that. And then you need to track it. Because if you're doubling it, and you're not getting double the results, at some point you've got to blame yourself and be like, what am I doing wrong? What can I be doing better? How does this conversation sound? Maybe I should record my part of the conversation. Because maybe I'm not connecting with people the right way. Maybe I'm not saying it the right way. Maybe I do suck at online leads and I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I should just focus on my past clients in my sphere. And if you're not converting your past clients in your sphere, maybe it's because you're too spammy. Maybe because every time you're calling, it's like, hey Joe, do you have 5 minutes? This is a business call. I'm like, I'm not picking that shit up from you. If I look at you and the last 3 calls have been, do you have a referral? This is a business call, something along those lines, I'm jaded now. Now, subconsciously, I connected you to being someone who wastes my time. Because you're giving me no value. And if we go back to number 4, more value, more trust. The more you care about giving back to the communities you belong to, the more value you'll be perceived as having. This is part of it. When you're calling people, what is that value? And if you know you're going to Google PPC or Facebook lead ads, that conversation can't sound like a Realtor.com or Zillow lead because they're not ready right now. And you've got to understand their intent, right? This is why number 1 to me is really important. This is where it all started yesterday when I was outlining these. I'm like, if you know their intention, you can get their attention. Okay, great. Let's go back to online leads because that's working for us as number 2. The second most closed transactions is online leads for us. Well, I needed to categorize them years back, not too long ago, probably like 4 years back. But I needed to categorize where our online leads coming from. Well, we've got Facebook at the time, we've got Google, and we had Realtor.com and Zillow. And then we also have some referral sites like Ojo and Estately and Referral Exchange, those companies. So that would be 4, and I'm like, hold on, I wonder if I can create kind of like a funnel and understand where these leads are and when they're going to close. So I'll categorize it for you. Facebook, Instagram, lead ads are typically at the very top of this funnel. And that's because they're going to take longer to get to the bottom to close, right? Bottom of the funnel means they're going to close sooner. If I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Facebook right now, and I'm scrolling through, what is my intent when I'm on Facebook? Someone can answer this one for me. Why am I on Facebook typically? Give me an answer.
Killing time.
Type it to what?
Kill time.
To kill time. Good. True. Bored. Josh. Okay, good. What else? Those are all right, by the way. For what?
Trying to see what your friends are up to?
Yep, trying to see what your friends are up to. To Snoop. I love that, Amy. Amy, you're just like solid on answers today. I love this. Yep, relax, connect with friends.
Avoidance.
Okay, perfect. Nobody said to look at houses. So this is why they're at the top of the funnel. They're so far away because you're kind of scrolling through. I'm like, oh, what's Amy up to? What's Melvin up to? Ooh, Daniela, you're eating at a spaghetti factory. This is cool. I love spaghetti. Like, comment. I love spaghetti. And then I see an ad for a house or maybe listing. And I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, that's a cool house. Click. You want my information? All right, click. I just want to take a look at the house. It's kind of cool. Oh, you're gonna call me? Okay, sure, whatever. That's the intent. Very, very, very extremely low intent. I understand their intent. There is none to buy a house. Every once in a while you do get lucky. So it's all about nurturing these. Because something attracted them to the house. Why were they looking? But very low intent. Next is Google. We put them in the middle of the funnel because Google Ads, Google AdWords, Google PPC. And you know what? Let me see if I can, it'll be more fun if I do it live with you. Let me see if I can. Just gonna go to Google and then see if I can share my screen. Oh, I can. Excellent. All right, I'm gonna go to Google with you and put no thanks there and move my screen on this side. Okay, Google, let's Google together. What city should I type?
Quartz Hill.
Give me a city. Which where? What?
Quartz Hill. Quartz
How do you
Hill.
spell that?
Q-U-A-R-T-Z.
Dude, you're giving me like the hardest one. Homes for sale in Q, what?
Right there.
Right there, top one.
Top one.
Oh, Quartz Hill. Oh, Quartz Hill. Shit, you know what I heard? Quartel. I'm like, how do you spell Quartel? All right, so take a look at what we found first. I'm just gonna show you. This is beautiful. I'm glad this one came up first. Ad. So Google, when you type in anything, puts 3 to 4 ads at the top. And those are paid. Google Ad, Google PPC. Number 1, Redfin, our best friend. Number 2, our second best friend, Zillow. And because there aren't a lot of ad spaces for this specific area, they only have 2. They usually have 3 or 4. Realtor.com there is organically at the top, and Zillow is also organically at the top. But my point is this: Zillow and Redfin are competing with us on Google PPC. Why? Because it works. The moment I discovered that years ago, I was like, why don't I do that on a local level? Why do I need to pay Zillow and Realtor.com and all of these companies to do what I can be doing when they're charging me $500 a lead in my area versus $21 a lead on Google PPC? I just have to make sure that I have the systems in place to be able to make sure that these people that are coming in through Google are nurtured, and eventually the ones that are ready can close. So I started asking the right questions based on the stuff I was looking at that was happening. And here's the part that you want to know. Google, on Google Leads, think of the intent behind Googling something. I know what I want. I'm not going to Google to check out friends or because I'm bored or because I just want to kind of pass time. I go to Google for one reason alone, to search for something. And this search is very specific. And the more specific you get, the higher quality the lead. So, homes for sale in Quartz Hill next to great schools is probably an amazing search term. Because I know for our area in Malibu, homes for sale around Pepperdine University, close to the beach. That's a long tail keyword. And guess what? It works so well. Why? Because I paid attention to my audience. I know that a lot of our audience is moving into the area because their kids are going to school here. And they get a property for the 4 years. Or they get a rental property because who's coming to Malibu? Typically people that have a shit ton of money. And that's what we found. We understand our audience, and that's why we can use Google better. But again, it went along my strength, because if you ask me, well, Tristan, how the hell did you get into real estate? I'm like, well, let me tell you a story. A long time ago, when I was in high school, I was born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. So I was born in Pacoima, grew up in San Fernando, Reseda, North Hollywood. I went to all that. And when I was 14 and a half, my mom's like, hey, you can't just be sitting around in the summer without a job, right? You can't be bumming it around. And I thank my mom for that. At the time, I was like, what? Right? But she got me a job in Agora Hills for calling. It was Nielsen TV. Anybody remember Nielsen TV ratings? Nielsen ratings? I was like, that was my first job. So, Scott, that was my very first job, buddy. And I sat in and I was calling people just to have them take a survey. And I started, they said, hey, do you speak Spanish? I'm like, yeah, fluently. So I started doing the English surveys and the Spanish surveys. And apparently I was really good at it. That at the end of the summer, it was a 2.5 month term that I had, but that was my first job. They said, hey, you did so well, we let go of everybody else, we would love you to stay. And I was like, I can't, I have school, but I can come back next summer. And I was like, I love this job. I mean, that's the most money I ever thought I would make at the time. And I bought a whole bunch of crap, but I don't remember what I bought. And then from there, I'm like, I love telemarketing. So the next job I got, while I was in high school in summer, instead of going back there, I sold ink cartridges. I ended up getting a summer job selling ink cartridges in Studio City, in a sales floor. But it was all adults and they were smoking, and the conversations weren't very good. So I left that one like a month in. And then from there through college, I got other jobs that were telemarketing. And I was being trained on how to talk to people. And I got so comfortable, I started talking to people in different accents. And one of those was listened to by my boss, and I didn't know these calls were being recorded. I was 16 at the time, 17. And I busted out a Scottish accent on one, because I was bored. It's like, sometimes we would go for 5 hours. And a Scottish accent with a little old lady. And next thing I know, when I'm done, they call me in and I'm like, oh, what's up? Because I had no idea it was being recorded. And they call me up and they're like, hey man, we noticed that you're having a lot of fun here. And we think you'd do great door to door in person, selling these windows. And they explained that to me and I was like, I'll give it a try. I thought I was gonna be in trouble. And so I gave that a try. And then I went to college, continued to do that, did some other things. And then I was ending college, married, and living in a room with my wife at my mom's house. And last year of college, I was like, I don't want to be a history teacher, because I was graduating with a history degree at Cal State Northridge. And I was like, what can I do? My mom said, why don't you become a real estate agent? Because they all drive nice cars. And I was like, that is a great idea. I too like nice cars. And Scott, you went to see some too, man? See, there you go. We're all kind of local here, so. Scott, I went on the 6-year plan to graduate, by the way. I didn't graduate in 4. It took me 6 years because I took time off. But when I graduated, right before I graduated, I had gotten my real estate license. I graduated in June. I got my real estate license in May. The very first day I got my license, I said, hey, you are official. I was like, well, what can I do? And I did this not thinking about, well, what's my strength? But I thought, what can I do that you enjoy doing? And I loved door knocking. Crazy. That's why I was like, I was meant to be a real estate agent, which was kind of nuts. And I went door knocking for 6 hours my very first day. And I dressed up in the suit and the tie and dress shoes. And it was May. And it's kind of hot out here, end of May. I came back, I was sweating, my feet were hurting, and I was like, I'm never doing it like that again. And then I started dressing up a little bit more loosely, and people at the office were like, whoa, wait a second, what the hell are you wearing? You cannot wear that to go to work, right? Until I changed that too, right? And this is how I dress. And in some cases, when I go to Malibu on listings, I wear sandals and shorts, and people are like, come right in. I changed that for the industry as well years back, but I got a lot of heat for it. So with that, I'm telling you that story because I focused on my strengths. And guess what? 3 months in, door knocking, number one, cold calling, out of all the things I could do, right? Cold calling. I was like, we cold call here too? This is crazy. I know how to do this. Cold calling. And open houses. Those were the 3 things that I gravitated to that I thought were my strengths. And they were, because 3 months in, I had 3 closings on the same day. And I thought that was insane. I was like, what is this? Because with that payment, 3 checks, I paid off my student loan. I was like, I'm rich. I'm rich, get out of the way. I thought, wow, I can do this more. So I went more door knocking, and I cold called more. And then the market crashed. And I was like, shit, nobody wants to buy a home anymore, or nobody can, from door knocking. And open houses, nobody's going to them. So I had to shift. And in 2007, I shifted over to online leads because I loved calling people on the phone. And somebody said, hey, why don't you try this Craigslist thing where you put up an ad of properties and then people that are interested call or email you, and then you can call them and convert them. I'm like, this sounds familiar. I can do this. So you see, the trend is, I need you to identify what you're great at. And it's in your history. What are you great at? Are you great at one-on-one with people? Then you should be going out to coffee. But you should be calling up people and not saying, hey, this is a business call. Do you have 5 minutes? Like, nobody wants that anymore. I don't know that they ever did, but, you know. It's different if you're saying, hey, like, tomorrow I have a dinner party at my house. We have about 35 people coming. Wouldn't it be cool if I call you up and you're like, hey, man, I'm having dinner at my house, just a few of us. Just want to invite you over. And then you know what happens? In that whole party? Real estate. That's what happens. Because they know you're in real estate. They're not idiots. Everyone talks about real estate. It gravitates to real estate. The conversation goes there on its own. You don't have to force it. And guess what happens when you're having one-on-one coffee? If you shut up and listen and ask questions, like Chris Voss says in the book, Never Split the Difference. He says, in essence, just shut up and listen, and then ask questions based on what they're saying. Do the same thing on these one-on-one coffees, right? Do these things, which is, I'm inviting, let's see who I have on my screen. Monique, I'm going to call you, and you and I are going to have a one-on-one coffee. Your friend, sphere, past client, whatever. I'm going to call you and be like, I'm probably going to text you, actually, in reality, if you're my friend, sphere, or my past client. I'm like, hey, Monique, actually, we've got 30 minutes next week, but you want to grab some coffee during lunch or in the late afternoon after you pick up your kids? And then you'd be like, yeah, or no, or sure. Why not, right? Let's just catch up. Great. All right. So I meet all of my friends, and I have all my meetings that are in person. Not at the office, believe it or not. I have it at this great little place called Ragamuffin. You can take a look at it. It's in Newbury Park, not the one in Oxnard, in Newbury Park. And everyone knows me there because I go there so damn often. But I meet you there, Monique, and I'm like, what do you want, Monique? And you're like, oh, give me a dirty chai. And I'm like, you got it. Or Monique could be like, no, it's on me, right? And I'm going to be like, yeah, no problem, Monique. I'm not going to argue with you, Monique. If you want to pay for it, do it. I don't want an uncomfortable feeling. But I usually pay. So you're getting a dirty chai, Monique. It's really good. Or maybe the Mexican mocha, one of the two. So I'm sitting you down, we're talking, and I'm like, hey, Monique, how how you been, man? How's everything going? I call everybody dude, by the way, girl or boy. It's just growing up over here. So I'm like, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, I'm doing great. Everything's good. I'm not going to ask them about their house if they sold the list. I'm going to ask them about family, about how's work, about how everything is going in general, right? And then they're going to start talking. And then they're going to say, well, family's good. Our smaller one, and I don't know if you've got kids, Monique, but I'm just assuming, right? Just, a smaller one is doing great. It's just that this, I'm like, oh, cool. Monique, are they into Fortnite by any chance? And then you'll be like, yeah, they are. And I'm like, you know what, Monique? I love Fortnite. So I've been playing a lot with my kids, but that's cool. Are they always on there? And then I gravitate to what they want all the time. Because then when the conversation comes back to me, which it will, right? This is an art that I learned over the 20 years of doing this and reading a mess load of books and talking to amazing people. The conversation comes to me, Monique, you're gonna ask me, so what are you up to? Or in some cases, how's real estate? But you're mostly gonna ask, how are you doing? And I'm gonna tell you quickly, I'm not gonna be fake about it. Let me say, I'm doing good. Or I'm doing okay. Real estate's a little weird right now, right? With people wondering where it's going, but we're holding up our own, right? And that's it. Now I'm gonna go back to you and I'm gonna say, so tell me, what are you guys doing for the holiday? I'm not going to continue on this tirade about real estate, about can you believe the interest rates and the housing, and did you know I bought this and sold this and this? I'm like, no, none of that. That's the downfall we have sometimes in authentic conversations. Because the authentic conversation has to be authentic in the eyes of the person you're talking to, not in your eyes. We're playing chess here, we're not playing checkers. So, nothing against checkers, I love checkers. But here, if I'm going to go back to you and I'm going to say, well, what about you? What about winter? What about holidays? What about the new year? What about next year? What happens is I'm always gravitating back to you on these short answers that I have because I'm making it about you. At the end, 30 minutes, an hour, however long you planned, what's going to happen is you're going to do what everybody talks about, but you're going to execute on it. And that's, how did you make someone feel? Because that's all it is, right? And if you go back to what I said on number 7. Most people buy with emotion. The key to this is they trust you though, because you make them feel good. There's something about, Monique, if you were on the other end, you're my agent, I'm a past client of yours, and we're talking, and you're doing what I'm telling you here. At the end, when I'm done, I'm going to be thinking and feeling like there's something about Monique. Every time I talk to her, she just makes me feel so good. Like, I'm energized after this conversation. And you know who made me aware of that even more was when I talked to Barbara Corcoran, when I interviewed her for Success Magazine. She said, Tristan, the way I choose my business partners is like this. I invite you to a lunch or a dinner or anything that we're having together. And if at the end of the conversation, I feel energized and pumped, then I know that we can do something together. But if I feel like I'm glad this is over, then you're never going to hear from me again. And that's how easy it is. If you break it down to the core level, how are people feeling around you? That's it. And if you're feeling like shit because somebody else is bringing you down, then you gotta let that other person go or change your surrounding, change your environment. Because it's not only affecting your conversations with people one-on-one, it's affecting those conversations that you have online when you're calling up somebody and saying, hey, you just visited our website through Google. Just wanted to see how we can help you out. Oh, I'm just looking. Oh, you're just looking? Oh, yeah, you know what? Call us when you're ready. Hang up. Online needs suck. Where you're feeling good and you know that this works because you've changed your beliefs and now they're going to dictate your behavior as to how you talk to people. Hey, you just visited our website from Google. It's trying to see how we can help you out. Oh, I'm just looking. Oh, you know what? My wife and I are actually always just looking. Literally, I just sent her a property on the beach through Redfin, and I use Redfin all the time, by the way, but through Redfin. And she's like, "You're crazy. This is $20 million." I'm like, "Yeah, but it looks nice, doesn't it?" And so I'm always just looking. But look, the last thing I want to do when you spam you, can you just tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for, so at least you enjoy being on our website? Are you looking to be closer to the beach or kind of up on the hill with a view? And I just went through that whole I'm just looking. And I made you feel, because I know your intent, I made you feel comfortable because I know how far you are from actually purchasing. In some cases we say, Monique, look, I know you're probably not even going to buy anything in the next year or two, but I just want to make your stay on our website pleasant. And then one of two things happens. Oh yeah, no problem. Let me tell you what I'm looking for. They feel a little more comfortable because I know their intent. Or the second one, and this doesn't happen as often. The second one is no, I'm looking to purchase in the next 3 months. It's almost like I offended them by saying, hey, I know you're not going to buy anything soon. And they're like, no, we are. And I love those, by the way. And that's the reason we say it that way. So again, your behavior, right? We need to check our beliefs on these certain things. Like everything works. Everything out there works, which is crazy. Now, some things do work better in certain climates, right? Open houses work better at certain real estate times. Online leads work better certain times. Social media works great certain times and certain approaches, right? Everything works, but a lot of it has to do with your strength and your talent. So I want you, if you can get anything from this, I want you to do these 3 things. And I want you to write these down because I just had my team do this. Number 1, where do you get most of your business from? Write that down. Where do you get most of your business from? Look in the last, if you can, if you've been in business for a little bit, look at where it comes from primarily. And most of you are going to say, well, referrals from our past clients or our sphere, referrals from somewhere. That's probably the number 1 answer, right? So now, when you answer that, whatever it is, say, well, why isn't it working like it should? What am I missing? What should I be doing more of to connect with this audience? What should that be? And you have to get specific here. Like, it's not going to be like, contact them more. I'm going to 10x it. I'm going to 2x it. What time? When? What days? What's your conversation sound like? You need to change that? If it's for past clients sphere. Are you in a position to be able to send them a handwritten note? Either you writing it or have a company write it, like audience.co or handwritten or addressable. One of those 3. What about sending them a gift if they're your core past clients? What does that look like? We use Client Giant. And I have no ownership of Client Giant, but we use them. And what about postcards? Like, am I sending them something? Am I inviting them to dinner? Am I inviting them to one-on-one coffee? Do I have big events? Am I inviting them to that? What am I missing based on your strengths, right? Am I reaching out to them often to see how they're doing on social media? Do they know that I actually care because I like and I comment and I message them on social because I see their stuff? What else are you missing, right? Where do you get most of your business from? Write that down and then say, what am I missing? Number 2, what am I missing? What can I do more of is number 2. And number 3, remember this is the one place that you're getting the most business from. Number 3, who out there that I see is doing amazing in this vertical that I can talk to, because I can still learn. Like, leaders are always learning. Great leaders are always calling up and saying, hey, I saw you do this. How'd you do that? Because I want to learn that. I want to learn how to do that a little bit better. And I don't know why some of us wouldn't do that. Like, I'm always doing that. This is why I interview people. I interview people so I can learn from them. Because I know the more I learn, the more I realize I know less and less. I'm like, I'm never going to catch up. I don't know anything. It's terrible. So, there you go. Who out there that you know, that you're watching, is doing a great job on what you want to do? And you know what? I'll leave you with this, but it's more of a thought that I learned from. Who did I learn this from? When I talked to Mel Robbins, Mel Robbins said something. She's like, and I think it was Mel. She said, the reason we're envious and jealous of people, Tristan, is because we want to do what they're doing, but we're not doing it. And that means you know somebody out there that you may have a little bit of envy towards, or that you may have a little bit of jealousy towards, that you need to reach out to, put that ego aside and say, hey, what are you doing? Because I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I want to do something like that. But I need some ideas. And that's what I'll leave you with. So hopefully you learned something today. Hopefully I got you. Thank you, Tristan, fellow Matador. Scott, I graduated finally after 6 years. I did it. So it took me. I took the 6-year road, okay?
I think that's good. I think 6 years is good.
Thanks, man. I almost didn't. I went back because my wife's like, because I remember I was already married. She's like, I think we should go back to college. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. So, but we did it together.
I may have taken 6 years myself, so I get the feeling.
It's the 6-year plan, dude.
It's a good plan, and it's not because I took time off. It's because, they want you to do work when you go to college. It's so stupid. They want you to do stuff. But Tristan, we really do appreciate you. Honestly, this was fantastic. Really, just thank you from all of us. I see a lot of people taking notes in here, and just thank you so much. We really appreciate you and your time. This was fantastic.
Thanks, everybody, and let me put in my Instagram so you can follow me if you have questions.
I have a quick question, just off the. What camera are you using for your on your lens for your zoom for your?
Yeah, let me dump that in.
You are
as
clear
well.
and look nice, and I'm sure you have a nice setup behind you.
Yeah, I do. Let me get this for you. I'm gonna give you 2 answers to that, okay? Number 1 is it's a whole shitload of things, which I'm about to show you. And let me grab it. It is right here. I'm gonna dump a whole bunch of stuff here. It's called camera items. A few things. Let me grab that. This is number 1. There's 2 answers. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate that. Thanks, Daniel. Freddie. All right. That's the long list, guys. And there's a little video. Yeah, it's not easy. But here's the other part to this, and this is the cool part. Let me see if I can do it right now. Your iPhone, MacBook, they just launched this in August. And let me see if I can do this right now. Trust. Video. Tristan's iPhone. Let me see here. Camera. Okay, so your camera on your iPhone can now be your Zoom camera or webinar cam, and it's insanely crisp. So there you go. I just switched it so you can see it. And it also kind of fizzles out the background. It's called bokeh. You can see that. So the further you go out, or if I get too close, you start seeing my boogers, so I don't want to do that. We'll keep that outside of that. Oops, hold on. Let me switch back to the cam link. Where is it? There we go. Okay. Anyway, that's a cool feature on the iPhone, but you have to have the iPhone and the MacBook. You literally just turn it on, and it says, "Hey, you want to use the iPhone?" And you're like, "Yeah." No, it's so easy, crazy. And thanks everybody. Appreciate you being here, and great questions and great engagement. So
Awesome, thank you. In your Instagram, oh, there it is. We can see it now. It's in the chat link.
yeah, I'll dump it again. And somebody grew up in Arleta. You know, you grew up in Arleta. There's I used to go to San Fernando a ton because my parents loved this little place called Lenchitas, and it's a Mexican food place. I don't know if you know it. It's still there. So Lenchitas with the handmade tortillas with the beans.
Yeah.
Seemed good. Anyway, thanks everybody. Still there, Betty? Yeah, there you go. I love it. Thanks everybody. Have an
Thanks,
awesome day.
Tristan. Have a good one. Appreciate it. Awesome. All right, guys, that's all for today. We appreciate all of you. Just a reminder, we've got the holidays coming up, so we won't have any meeting this week or I believe the week after. If I'm right on my timing, we'll send out an email to everyone up. But appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your day. Oh, I wanted the stuff.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you send me that? It's probably like thousands of dollars. My wife's gonna say no, but on it.
No, today started at 9.
Oh, okay.
Wait, is this not an office
That
meeting?
makes sense. I'm not gonna get that. But I would like to.
Oh.
But I showed up again, because Drew's here. And I was
Pay
like,
attention,
well, he's
man.
here to the office, we already
Was
said
that
that.
9 o'clock
He's
thing?
like,
Because
"No,
my
he's
Tristan
here."
from like.
Check the calendar next Tuesday.
Oh,
We got the report.
well, that, I was like, oh, yeah.
No, it was really good.
When you're good.
The suit's going on.
That's why I did.
The Christmas gift. Oh, you've been here since now?
I'm normally here at 8 o'clock for trips.
Oh, okay.
And then
Oh, you can.